This is your city. Good idea. So we'll start over here with Alex.
I'm Alex Jensen. Nice to meet you. I'm the city manager.
Hi, thanks. Brian?
Oh,
Brandon?
yeah, Brandon. I'm a planner for Layton City.
Chad Wilkinson, I'm the Community and Economic Development Director.
Okay, let's go
I'm
with
Terry Colburn, the Public Works Director.
All right, cool.
Steve Jackson, City Engineer.
Dave Price, Parks and Recreation Director.
Ed?
Ed Brady, Ranking Manager.
Busy working.
Long Trail, Economic Development.
Perfect. Let's go back here to Gary.
Gary Crane, City Attorney.
You're in on this.
Tori Campbell, Deputy Recorder.
Clint Morris, Weber State University. We know each other from our meetings.
Yep. Zach here.
Tina Smith Evanson, we're in as well.
Ed Thomas, Bayview Elementary.
Class out.
Still working on it.
Yeah.
Still working
on it.
GED's the same.
Tyson Roberts, good to see you again.
Welcome aboard. Okay, that works. All right, let's go ahead and, any other reports?
So yeah, last Friday, we had the CTC annual meeting, and we did a number of things. It was an all-day event, but it was nice. We elected the officers for the executive board. They didn't have those all slated, so that's done. And something I just wanted to share, we reviewed the 5 key protective factors to help kids make good choices. And one of those is recognition, and something I thought was helpful to me, and also just a reminder to all of us who are parents and just people in the community who help kids, is that it says, as parents and supportive adults, you should recognize the skill or talent that a young person is developing, not just those that they've excelled in, and also to provide encouragement for getting started or for trying to do things. So that's just something to help us remember, we recognize when people do well, get straight A's or whatever, but even trying a skill, trying something new. So, and then we also heard some presentations from some of the folks that we could maybe partner with to put the program forward. Just like Big Brothers Big Sisters might be something we're looking at, but they haven't completely decided, but it was a good thing.
That was very good. Elisa did an excellent job, really. And actually, Carly and Rosa.
Yeah. I sat in the meeting for 3 hours next to a lady that bugged the crap out of me.
Oh, that one.
Oh,
yeah.
that one.
Yeah, you better report on that one too. Go ahead.
What was it? It was basically on zoning. Craig, was it Craig? The guy that wrote the book.
The one that
Yeah.
wrote the book.
He taught it and so I went and found out a lot of things we were doing is right. Surprising.
Trying to keep you away from it.
But it was a nice refresher. Not just refresher, I mean, I learned, because the first one I had no clue. But it was nice. You talked about different things and why you do different things and why things happen the way they do. And a lot of people think, well, just make up your mind and do it. Well, you can't. And we all know this. I'm spitting in the wind. So, but anyway, that's what it was. It was kind of neat.
Yeah, it was a good. Again, it was another
Yeah.
3-hour long class, but it was well worth it. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
I will admit, with the exception of Zach here, he was one of the few lawyers that I could listen to for a while.
The guy was pretty witty, and he had good stories that were related and kind of helped you understand what his point was.
He did a good job.
So you can pass
Very
that
good,
on.
he's the best.
Yeah, and I remember them saying that when we attended the first meeting down, and we were all together somewhere down south. Yeah, and he taught there. Very good, yeah.
It's a long time ago.
It was a while ago. You guys are statesmen now.
Elder
Statesman.
Yeah.
I got to be out on the board.
I don't believe
Clint and I have been obviously on the the League of Cities and Towns, Gary, obviously. And just some of the highlights is that one of the bills that was HB 85, it was an eminent domain amendment, which would have precluded cities from utilizing eminent domain for the purposes of a park. They asked the sponsor if there had been any evidence of this happening anywhere in the state, and he said no. So that's just a sign of kind of some of the things that happened out there. It was voted down, so there was no instance that he could find where eminent domain was used to condemn a piece of property for the purposes of the park. So it was a bill that was designed for agriculture. But I sent a text to one of our elected representatives afterwards, and I think a lot of the discussion was from the city. They said we heard a lot from the cities about, this is not a problem, and so whether you're on ULCT or whether you're not, we have good voice. We all have different people we know. People Tyson knows, maybe not the people that I know. And so I think just making sure we reach out when something comes along. And then secondary water metering, there was a worry about funding, but it was 200 million, is that right here?
200 million.
So that was a mandate for us to mandate secondary water metering. And there was a worry that it wasn't going to get funded, so we have to pay for it. Haven't been mandated without any sort of funding mechanism, but 200 million, so we can thank Jerry for that.
And with the timeline?
Now with the timeline.
And they extend the timeline?
Was it 2027? Is that
I
right?
thought it was 30.
2030.
Yeah,
2030.
2030.
So do we get in line now? Is that what we need to do?
Yeah, well,
We're working on it.
we're gonna have,
Just get first in line?
Steve told me they've already got meetings planned, so.
So I heard in the Senate today, if you had already completed a portion of secondary metering, that you could ask for money back. Now, are we in that realm, or are we?
No.
Because that was
Secondary
all.
water, no. Yeah, those Weaver Basin is who's.
The water districts could do that,
And,
they've been working on it.
yeah, they've been working on
So
that.
have been working on it.
We really don't have, other than that, we don't have secondary water, other than, we've just acquired secondary water, so that.
So the money would be based on us just doing our own secondary metering.
Yes.
Performance, right? It's performance
Yeah, it's
based.
still
Performance based.
It's still 70%,
70%.
which means we still have to
You got the chunk of change.
find it.
And then, if I'm right, Alex, the under $10 million on the ARPA money is still without any strings attached. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. There are a few general strings, but they're not we would typically encounter.
Okay.
But wait, Biden's gonna send out he's gonna form that committee that's gonna go out and go after all the thieves and thugs that have taken that money illegally, right? Isn't that what he said in his State of the Union?
I didn't listen close enough.
I remember him saying that.
My word, I guess not my word, I guess my idea is that we all have ideas about what we want to do with the 9 million. And we have a mandate and we have this funding, I really want to prioritize that. I don't know how much it will cost, but
I think we'll be safe in ours. I think it's more geared towards people that illegally file for some of the smaller funding and really wasn't there.
Even if we acquired secondary water, we can't use what they paid to get refunded.
I don't know.
Their payments were basically developers installing new connections, so there is not really any previous.
So it wasn't like they went out and did it?
There were no retrofits that I'm aware of.
Well,
It was all new.
yeah, but they
new
put in some
construction.
pretty big lines.
Yeah, but this is
This
just for
is
metering
Oh,
specifically.
just for me.
Metering.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I didn't know that, so that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, what else?
What's gonna surprise us either tonight or tomorrow night?
Almost had a surprise 5 minutes ago when somebody lost the boundary commission appeal on an annexation in Davis County today, and we're looking for some changes in the annexation law, which they wanted to add on to we have a very big land use bill, which we have negotiated until it is acceptable to both sides. And this is what always happens. At the very last minute, you get somebody running in and saying, we really need this. And leadership says, go find a way to do this, but there really isn't a way to fix it before the session ends. So we did manage to talk them into waiting in the interim and see what we could do there. It was an issue that is really complicated in the annexation code. So those things come up, and we're going to watch between now and tomorrow. Tyson, Lynn, Zach, till tomorrow, so and Mayor, if you hear of anything coming out of the chamber, let us know.
Chamber's not meeting. Yeah.
Didn't meet this week.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Let him sleep.
They consider themselves done?
they turned in their priorities document and took their stance.
And they trust the legislature's going to, okay, I got you. No, we're good.
But on top of that same note, Wasatch Regional Fund Council also canceled theirs.
Yes.
So, I mean, that tells you.
And the league canceled all theirs too.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much just watching bills so right now.
Right.
Is the land use bill gonna make it?
Circle in the Senate and it will make it.
Okay.
I just got a call 5 minutes ago saying that, from a member of leadership saying that they understood that the issue was not an easy issue. Because if you remember, we had all kinds of lawsuits over a really easy issue. We thought it was an easy issue that was changed the night before the session ended 2 years ago. And it ended up in a lawsuit with Hideout, Wasatch County, all over an annexation provision. We did that for Davis County. We put that provision into Davis County. But they made one little change in it. Somebody else made one little change in it. And it changed the whole meaning of the thing. So, often happens. But thank you for your help. The note you sent in, the eminent domain bill is an excellent example of raining on their parade. They got hailed on up there, and it doesn't make any sense. Didn't make any sense. It was one of those theoretical bills where I won't say it. Wanting to make a statement type bill, but it was kind of like that.
I thought it was already in code that eminent domain cannot be used for recreation.
For trails.
For trails, okay.
And that was a bad loss for us because it has stopped Bonneville Shoreline Trail, right just north of Layton Ridges subdivision. And my experience has been when the one area that we don't have, and I'm talking too much, I'm sorry, I'll stop. Sorry, but there's one
Okay,
area.
this is a good education. This is all about the legislature.
One area that we cannot exercise eminent domain is south of the Air Force Base. But I happen to know that you pay a lot more money when you go and try and negotiate something because you need it or want it or have it, you have to have it in a certain place. We paid almost 3 times what the appraised value was, so.
Well, yes, you got no teeth,
Nope.
so.
So eminent domain does help, but still, government is always required to pay fair market value. And we add to that, like the city always has, we add an amount to that to make sure it's above that.
Gary's persuasive nature got a co-sponsor to vote against some bill, so we appreciate what you did.
It's you guys. Yeah, they called him on it, so. Yep. But we thank you.
Well, good job, you guys. Clint, did you have something more you wanted to add?
Just that I'm not sure what we're gonna do without Gary moving forward.
He's not gonna be around, Terry.
When you call him,
5 years.
No.
I might leave him once. I'm gonna double check.
I guess the ramp commission met Monday night and put together their final recommendations. I think they send those to you next. I think that's.
I think they go to Dave.
Well, Dave,
Yeah, Dave.
he's-
Come to me, yeah.
We're just refining it and we'll send it on to Alex.
and I think they did a good job of deliberating and coming up with their recommendations. So that's on its way. I think there's $2.6 million was in the fund and 2.2 is what was their list. So it's coming.
Okay, good.
So that's.
It's a good process. I love the process. I love the fact that, everybody can weigh in on it and be able to come up with the right solution, regardless of what
Well-
individual, how each one of us feel differently, it doesn't matter, it's the process.
The opportunity that Rand
That's provided.
has provided, which, I mean, it's phenomenal when you think about it. So,
Yep.
it's a great, great entity.
I will announce the Parks and Rec activities just in the regular meeting, but Clint, since you're on the Active Transportation Committee, right? Do you want to announce that, or do you want me to?
You can.
Okay, I'll announce that there as well, the open house next week. Okay.
We'll have some announcements also. Okay, what else are you announcing on? The Arts Council? Yeah, for tomorrow night.
Yeah, Davis Arts Council, that has some stuff.
Okay. All right, that'll work. Yes.
The active transportation, we need a little help, maybe Dave, Joe Ellen with the youth council.
Oh, we'd be glad to come by.
I mean, Erin, they had a meeting, but I don't think she quite,
Grasp what about it?
yeah, well, she did,
Been there?
and she did a good job, but she didn't know basically what they wanted, what you wanted them to do.
Okay.
And I said, it's easy to find out, so, but anyway,
So, we'll get together afterwards.
yeah, but that's something we need to, if we're gonna do it in the time frame, we need to, we can't dilly-dally.
We need the youth to weigh in on this. This is a big, big plan, and then, they're a big portion of users, so definitely are interested in the opinions. So we're gonna challenge you to get those opinions into us. How's that sound?
Yeah, I don't really know what to talk about.
That's gonna be, we'll educate you then. Okay, all right, well, that's a good report from everyone. Let's go ahead and move on to item number 2, our training. Gary, I'm not gonna cut you short this time, let's go for it.
You got a lot to do, but let me just make it
That's
really
okay.
short. Thanks. Oops. Okay, so since you've had Craig's training, that's probably about the best training that you get on land use issues. But we're going to be dealing in the future as a city with takings issues a lot.
With what?
Takings issues, takings. So a takings issue is where government either wants partial, full, or regulatory use of your property. Those are the 3 types of takings that you can actually, that governments become involved in. You used to have a law professor who used to say, you know what, government takes your property, they ought to pay for it. And he was right, but it ought to be fair at the same time. Like this bill that we're talking about, that would be a taking. That's a physical taking. That's the first type of taking, where you're actually looking at acquiring property for a park. And of course, the Constitution, 5th Amendment says that they should be fully compensated for that at fair market value. It doesn't say at the highest and best use. It doesn't, because a piece of property may someday have a 10-story building on it, out all the way out in West Layton. But we don't estimate the value based on that. We base the value on what the property currently is zoned. That plays a big part in it. And then what it can be reasonably used for. I've seen property actually valued at a little higher because of the fact that it's on a corner and it's a vacant lot, and there's a good chance that it can be turned into a commercial venture of some sort. So there's 3 types of takings: physical taking, regulatory taking, and a temporary taking of property. And so you don't need to remember all those tonight, but we're going to talk more about it because you do have some big ones coming up. There's some issues, big issues, not big takings, but you hit it everywhere you go. You hit it when you deal with Highway 89. You hit it with your master plan. When you're master planning something, you're determining what somebody's property is you're going to be able to put on it. You're dealing with the value of that person's property, right? And so the question is, should there be compensation for any aspect of those transactions that you make? And the state constitution says no. Through our police powers, we're able to regulate zoning in this state, and that goes all the way back to some very early cases that occurred in the United States that established that zoning is one way that we can regulate the property use without having to pay value for the loss in property. If you zone it from agricultural, you refuse to zone it all the way to commercial, you don't have to pay the difference in value, the expectation damages there. So, okay, just real quick, the case we're going to talk about today, there's 4 really important cases. We talked about Tigard. That was the one where the city of Oregon wanted, or a city in Oregon wanted a bicycle trail at the back of a property when somebody was going to improve their electrical shop. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's an exaction taking. You're doing an excessive, or you're imposing upon the developer an excessive exaction. And that happens when you're making administrative decisions. You have to be careful that you stick to your ordinance, and that you carefully calibrate what you're asking for and make sure that it's roughly proportional to what the impact that they're causing. This one is a little different case. This one that we're going to show you, it is Nolan.
Okay.
This one is actually the Lucas case. I'm just going to let you listen to, can you expand it?
I had a lot on the mark that we were going to build on, but I had such a.
See the mouse up there.
Somebody else wanted it
Just
more than I did.
turn those, move.
I won't take the offer because I don't.
Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
But what we can do.
We can start it over.
Okay, yeah.
Each we can go.
So let me just give you a little primer on that while Brandon is queuing it up. Lucas is a case that talks about where the courts actually turned a corner. There's a case that precedes this called Penn Central, and they established a value for what they call regulatory takings. When the state or city regulates your land to a certain point, then the courts are going to determine that that is a taking. That's taking. You've regulated it too much. And so this case is a seminal case. It's the big case for regulatory takings. And this is what all of our...
Regulatory taking, kind of like the APZ we have.
Yes, very good example. And probably that's where we're going to use this case a little bit in the future, in actual situations where we've got some APZ property coming in. They're claiming that even though the government bought some of it, they're interested in that they didn't buy all of it. And the question becomes, how much did they buy then? You see what I'm saying? So this is the standard. This is where it all started. And so let's go ahead and, can you crank it up for us? So, okay, we'll just let you listen to what happened here.
We had a lot on the mark that we were going to be building on, but I had such a great offer and somebody else wanted it more than I did.
He came to me and he said, now I won't take the offer because I'd already designed a house for that. But what we can do, I can get some property on the front beach and we can build there.
So I decided to go ahead and buy 2 of those lots. One to build a house on for Martha and I and the kids, and the other as a speculative investment.
Look at the location of the lots.
And remember one thing, Martha, beachfront property is golden and it'll always be golden.
People building literally right up on the beach itself. There was a hue and cry from the public that the state's long-term well-being was being sold out for a few nickels.
The South Carolina Beachfront Management Act was passed just as Lucas was finishing plans for his new house.
We were ready to go to get our permit to build when the law passed.
Lucas was mad. Whether he had a case or not remained to be seen. It was, okay.
Does he look like a lawyer?
Well, I can't build anything on my property.
These guys have done something very stupid. They built next to an eroded shoreline. You know, how smart is that?
If the public was so vested in the need to protect the beaches, well then, who ought to pay for it, Lucas or the public?
Okay. So, you can see the whole movie on Netflix. But, so, what happened here? The guy saw an opportunity to purchase some property. The property was for sale. There were no restrictions on it at the time. He bought 2 lots. He paid $500,000 a piece for the lots. And then he went in with his building permit. But at the same time, just before he went in for his building permit, the Coastal Commission for South Carolina put into place a line, an arbitrary line, that went all the way behind all those condominiums that you saw there, and all the way down the beach, and it went all the way from, I can't remember the state, is it North Georgia, is it? I can't remember, but it went all the way to the state line to the north, the state line to the south. And they said, within this area, there should be no building. 0 building. And so all of a sudden, what did it do to the value of those lots? Reduced it to, weren't of any value. He said he could put a gazebo on it, and he and his wife could sit there and look at the waves, but that's about the extent of what they could do on the property. And it was a rule or regulation that was put into place by the Coastal Commission. So the court looked at it, and they said, yes, cities can regulate properties, but when you go so far in your regulation that you've taken essentially all use of the property, that it's a taking, and you have to pay full value for the property. And the only exception to that is if there happens to be a nuisance on the property, that you put a nuisance, there's a nuisance on the property, and that nuisance is adversely affecting the value of the properties to either side of you, and the nuisance was there the day that you bought the property, and the regulation against the nuisance could have been exercised prior to your buying the property, and you just bought it with that nuisance on it. The city can come in and actually stop you from putting anything on that property. If I give you a good example, a piece of property that has a fault line through it. If a piece of property has a fault line through it, and the city knows that, and a nuisance existed before you come in and buy the property, you cannot put a house on the property, even though it takes your regulation. Do not build houses on fault lines, even though that comes into play. You can't build on that property because it constitutes a nuisance. If it fails, everything around it fails, right? The homes collapse, so you can't build. That's a good example of a nuisance, the nuisance exception to the Lucas rule. But Lucas says, this is the thing to get out of this, and then we'll go on with this next time, and I'll try and relate it more and more to what we're looking at south of the base and in some other areas you're gonna have to deal with. But the Lucas case stands for the proposition that, with the one exception for nuisance, that if you take essentially all value of a person's property by either zoning it as open space or zoning it so that it has no value. I don't know what the zoning would be other than open space or hillside area or something like that. You can take away all value of the property. Any questions on that? No? Okay. We'll talk about more fun stuff later. But this is coming up. This will be on your agenda, I know, at some point in the future. So looking forward to hearing what you say. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Okay, let's go ahead and move on then to Mr. Price. He's going to talk about the photography and open spaces.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be able to sit down and discuss this again with you. We had a really healthy and good conversation last time, and we took the information that you provided at that time and went back and worked on it a little more. We have a couple of alternatives that we'd like to share with you. We still think that this is probably the best way to move forward. It is the least intrusive through a department policy, but it yet still gives us the ability to manage the property.
Yes, please.
And so we'll go through this today. We've tried to highlight the changes. And so you can see real clearly the things that we've looked at. So some of the concerns and the conversations that we had were about the approach and the scope of what we were doing. And so we went back and we looked at all of the areas that we had, and we came back with an option today that we'd like to have you consider, and that is that we remove the associated trails from this list, because they are a different thing. They simply do not function the same way, and in the future, if they become a larger concern, they could always be added. But right now, we're trying to be as surgical as possible and target just those areas that we where we defined the city-owned, city open space. We applied the regulations, the definition. Again, none of this has changed. We're still looking at the restrictions to commercial activities, including photography sessions. And they would be, all of those activities would be permitted through the city. We added one clause down here at issuance of the permit, where it became apparent that once a permit was issued, if the weather turned disagreeable, then we didn't want to take that fee and make them apply again. So as long as they contact us beforehand, we would be able to reschedule that to a later time. Go ahead.
Yeah, I may not be reading that right. So they have to call in before their time? What if you go there and it pours like, you know what I mean?
And if what we're trying to prevent is having the activity take place and then calling us and saying they'd like to do it next week. And so as long as we hear at the time of, or we define it as before.
Yeah, because it's like playing baseball. I mean, you know, how do you call a game? You gotta wait till it rains, you know, or, yeah.
You know, we have our phone number on the permits.
Yeah. No,
they can call at any time as long as it's right up until the time of their permit.
Okay.
So if they need to postpone it for personal reason or whatever, then that's on their dime.
That's
But
right, that's correct.
we're willing to work with them as far as the weather.
And this is similar to how we handle our other
No, it's fine. I just
reservations.
want to make sure I read that right.
So those are the two changes that we've looked at to bring to you today and to continue that discussion. We really feel that we're at a good spot right now, and we're ready to move forward with this with your approval. We've also been continuing with the physical changes at the area. We've extended the fencing up the entry road. They're continuing to work on that, so both sides will be fenced. We also installed a gate, and there will be a bollard at the handicap ramp that will be installed. And
At
so
the top there, right below Layton Christian Academy, is that where you're thinking?
no, this is. We've extended that now up the road, the entry road to the cul-de-sac.
I have a question still. I want to present an example and see how that would be handled. And this is an example that happened. So, I don't know, a couple of years ago, my family we were at the house for Thanksgiving. My brother was in town from California. And when we're all together, there are about 13 of us. And we thought, oh, let's go take some pictures for Christmas. We'll do it, you know, we'll do it after we eat for Thanksgiving, you know, lunch, dinner, whatever. So we go down to the trail, took our photo, you know, did our thing. My brother, he doesn't work as a photographer, but he has in the past. Obviously didn't charge us. He's family, right? And then we left. But those are our pictures. How does that work in this instance with this permit? Is that requiring us now to fill out a permit 2 weeks in advance to say, hey, we want to do this? How does that situation work? And that's what I struggle with this formalized process.
Okay. And so that's a great question, because that's the fine line that we're trying to monitor and to get the right approach to. And so we've defined photography sessions as an event where a photographer or videographer takes a series of formal photos of the subject. The photographic session allows the photographer to spend prolonged periods of time composing the photograph and uses photography equipment such as tripods, reflectors, props, things like that. And then we go on to say that photography sessions do not include quick, informal selfies or snapshots. And so if your group was just going to walk up, stop along the trail, and take a picture, we probably wouldn't have a problem with that. But if you were going to be there, as it says, for an extended period of time, or if you're bringing a lot of equipment that would need to be carried in, things like that, then we would probably ask for a permit.
So, and I'm gonna belabor this a minute, because this is what happens,
Sure.
right, in our city, this is what we do. And, you know, he has a tripod, so he brought it. He didn't have reflectors, he didn't have props, you know, the things that we know that have damaged the area. There were no horses, there were no pianos, etc. But he does have a tripod, he has equipment. And we took our picture, we were probably there for 45 minutes maybe, I don't know. We have a lot of kids, so you're gonna be there for a while. What prohibits, or what is there to let the neighbors there know that, hey, we need to call on this person or this family, or we don't need to call on this person or family? How is that going to impact Parks and Rec? How is that going to impact citizens who use it for that type of a purpose? That's really what I'm trying to understand as we move forward.
So based on your description of 45 minutes in the area with your family, you know, there, that would fit the need for a permit. And so we would ask that you come in and get that. And that is simply to protect the numbers of groups that go down there and do that exact same thing. So it's difficult, you know, when you look at a single family, but what's happening is we have many families at the same time that are coming down there. And so that's why we're moving in the direction, or considering moving in the direction with you to have the permits. Now, our parks are always available for that same type of activity. Commons Parks has beautiful areas where we encourage people to come and take pictures and do formal photography sessions. And the reason we do that is because the park is built to handle that. In this instance, that use that you defined is the thing that's causing the problem, because it's happening so many times.
So back to her tripod question, I mean, I'm not a professional, but I have 4 tripods. But the purpose of me bringing it would be just so I could set the timer and jump in the picture with my family. So that part, you'd be okay as long as you're not extending it or not. I think that's what
As you defined it, the thing that caused concern when you said that was the amount of time that you were there and you know, composing the picture and moving people around. That's the activity that causes the damage to the meadows. And again, it's not your single family,
Right.
but it's the cumulative effects of that.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, thank you for the getting rid of the trails part of it.
Well, it's up to you guys.
Well, I just makes sense that those are trails and asphalt trails, and this, we're talking about native grasses, I think, is, maybe that's where you're going with that. My question is how do we know, how does Bettina's family know? Are we gonna have signage in that parking lot saying, hey, if you're gonna take photos, you can't, you need to call this number? And so, how long do you think it's going to take before that word gets out that in these 4 areas, you can't take photos without calling and getting a permit? And having our families there at that point going, can I? This is a park. Why? That's going to be interesting for families. So your family would be like, what, can't we?
Yeah. And so
it's confusing.
The signage is one of the things that we've held off until we make a decision. But the parks would have to be signed. That also not only tells them what the restrictions are,
Flat with
but the signage would also provide them with information that gave them opportunities to do it in other areas without a permit. And so if you showed up with your family and you came down there and the signage was such that it said you needed a permit, if you don't have a permit, we've also include options for you to be able to come to Commons Park, to Greyhawk Park. These are all parks that have beautiful natural backgrounds, but yet they still have the infrastructure that allows that activity to happen without damaging the area.
I see the professionals, you know who they are, kinda. You can get the word out to the professionals.
Yeah, they'll hear.
Yeah, I mean, but.
One time.
But to the families, I'm sorry, but I don't care what language you put up as a sign, and I know, they're just gonna, they're there. There's 15 of them, let's hurry and do it and we're done. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying, realistically, I think is gonna happen. It's kind of like our ball line. We got games tonight, but you go there for the game and there's a family out there playing ball out there, which, I mean, do you think we chalk it every day? Just for you? But I think the professional ones, that's, to me, the big thing. Because they're the ones usually doing the big groups and all the shots, and I'm not gonna say they're the ones that are always bringing the props, because some people are just stupid. They,
Creative.
I mean, creative, yeah. And to bring out something that they think makes their family look good, like a horse or piano, I still can't. Anyway, but so you can regulate so much, but you can't, I don't think it's gonna have to be a living entity that as we go, we do the best we can to start with, and then see how it goes. And I think you're on the right path, I really do, but I don't think we're gonna stop.
So we're on the right path enough to say, yes, we want to accept this?
No, I like what you have to start
something.
somewhere, and I think this is the most, what's the term? It's a normal way to start.
Well, this ground here, at least by this trailhead, where the issue has been, it's still under renovation. It's gonna be, it's been destroyed, so it's gonna be a while.
We anticipate that it'll take at least this growing season this summer to get it back to where it should be, back to a natural state. Dave, to your concerns.
Thank you.
I thought you were applauding for I was just waiting for the rest of it.
Now, the only thing I clap for is dinner.
The same process has occurred again and again through the city's activities. We build a ball field, people love it to death, and we have to regulate it.
Sure.
We do it through these policies. As with all activities, whether it's speeding or photography or baseball, our policies, signage, and direction hopefully gets the word out to most of the people that will try to comply with that. There are always those few that.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is a bad way to do. I'm saying this is good, but we have, let's not get the blinders on that it's gonna take care of it.
No.
And so it has to be a kind of a living thing that as we do it, we can adjust a few things, and some things work better than others. One of the things, and I don't know exactly But if there's a phone number to call, 99% of the time it's Saturday, Sunday. It's not during the week too often, I don't know.
I think.
But, for
that's
the
best
most
idea.
part. So you're gonna have somebody,
Throw a QR code that links to
With
my
a phone.
details.
I mean,
We'll get you guys.
Yeah, we do believe that, like you said, David, this is something that we begin with.
Yeah.
And then we watch. We've seen,
Sure.
since we put up the ropes and the barriers,
Yeah.
we have watched people who have done the right thing and left. We've also seen groups that have come down, they park and then they walk up the trail to where the rope ends,
Yes.
and then they walk out.
Yeah.
And so we've already learned that, and we're looking at new signage that helps people understand that, this is not just for the little roped area. This is a visual cue, but we need you to stay on the trail throughout the area.
Yeah, no,
So we're learning.
And you are, and I'm not condemning in any fashion. What I'm saying is you're doing the right thing. It's just that the idea is there's gonna be some changes and whatever they need to be. And that's probably true with everything.
It's just like our ordinances.
Yeah, it's
We're
like,
constantly
yeah,
reviewing them
exactly.
and updating them, and
Yeah.
that's what I
So-
think you're driving at here, right?
Yeah, and I think we start somewhere and then we go wherever we can, to make it good,
Okay, we gotta
make it work.
And so, we like the changes, the small changes we made so far last time.
Yeah.
I have one more question.
Please.
So we do that same example I gave you, we do that in 20 minutes. Does that change the function? Because you said prolonged period of time. That 45 minutes was obviously a prolonged period of time. So if that's less time, does that change? Does that change?
It does. We're talking in such incrementals that it's really difficult to give you a solution. One family will spend 10 minutes there and they trumpet to death. Or another family will walk out and gently take a picture. We do like to, or so far, I should say, we have included family groups because we see that as a past trend that has contributed to this problem. And although we would prefer not to include that group, we just feel that that opens up so many problems if we don't include that. If we don't include large groups, then a photographer could simply just say, well, this is my family. The other aspect is once we open the area for permits, the ordinance asks the photographer and the permit holder to have that permit available and visible during the session so that our neighbors and the police and the parks people can see that they have gone through the proper process and they're approved to be there.
One thing that's not mentioned here, she can't mention everything. That place is very popular for the school dances. We talked about this before. Like homecoming is going to be, now you have groups of 2 or 3.
Everyone.
Yeah, that's going to be, you can't get a permit for everybody to be there on homecoming night and take pictures.
If 2 or 3 want to come up and walk the trail and stop and take a picture, especially if they're on the trail, we have no problem with that. If your family's walking the trail and they see you deer, say, stand up here, kids, and take a picture of you. That's a good use of the area. It's the extended sessions that we've talked about that we're trying to curtail.
Yeah.
And we do believe this is a good place to start. It allows us to, it has enough of a penalty that we can reach out to those that are, continually violating this, and we can trespass them if they fail to follow the rules. If the trespassing is not strong enough, then they can actually be fined or processed for a fine. And so we think that this is a good starting point, a good way to approach this.
Anything else on it?
I like it too. I can sympathize with Bettina's example. I think it's a perfect example because we've been around dinner and we realize, oh my gosh, we've got everyone here. This doesn't happen very often. But I think we're looking at a special area of our city, and I think it's a unique situation. I like your example, Dave, of the parks are built for this, and we have other areas where we can accommodate that kind of activity. So I think it's a tough thing to do, but I think it's the right thing to do to protect this area and other areas.
So with your blessing, we'll move forward. We'll put out the signage. We'll extend the reach of the ropes and the idea of staying on the trail right now while we're rebuilding these meadows. And we'll do that quickly because spring is approaching. And
Yeah, it's here.
we need to get ahead of this before
Yeah,
spring comes.
You call that Lucas guy, can't you, Gary?
I can.
And draw the line behind.
Nobody knew where that line was, but we can draw a line.
Well, yeah.
Okay, anyone else want to weigh in on this? I mean, I just want to make sure you guys are
No.
good with it, you want to proceed. That's a good starting point.
I'll defer to what the council wants to do. I would just like to move on to other topics. You guys spent a lot of time on it, so we can just have some sort of conclusion to it so we can see how it works.
Well, I hear two definites. That, I'm not sure if we have, how do you go, Clint? Are you in favor of this or not?
I'll go along. There's gonna be issues, but
Yeah.
hopefully we figure out the issues.
Well, it's the beginning point that we can modify, change, maybe going forward. And I think it is, it's an evolution, it's a working document, but it's a start.
I'm glad it's policy, glad it's not an ordinance. And,
Yeah.
It's getting massaged and we've worked on it. And I think
Okay, we'll go to work. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks. Okay, next item on the agenda, and the last item, is actually a closed meeting to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property, including any form or of a water right or water share. So with that, I would need a motion for us to go into a closed door meeting, and those that are not involved in this discussion may exit, which means you get to leave early. We appreciate you being here.
I'd like to thank you very much.
Get out early, right? No. Thanks, everybody. You do a really good job, and we appreciate it.
Good meeting, Doug.
Thank you.
You'll be all right.
Wish you everybody.
We're waiting for the attorney. Oh. Okay. Okay, that's video. Meeting for March 3rd, 2022. We appreciate your patience here. We've had seems like recently we've had a few heavy-duty items that we've needed to deal with prior to this meeting. So once again, I apologize for that, but appreciate your patience. As customary, we start all of our meetings with a prayer and a pledge. And we have, each month we rotate that around, and this month is Councilmember Bloxham's turn. So I'll turn the time over to him.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We'll start with the pledge. We're going to have the distinguished guest, Vadim Kalishko, come up to the podium here, and he's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Kalishko. And then we'll have Pastor Jonathan Klein, who serves the Light of the Valley Lutheran Church here in Layton. He's going to offer the opening prayer.
Oh, excuse me. Do you mind speaking into the mic just so we can get it recorded?
Okay.
Thank you.
Almighty God, we live in a world plagued by conflict and hostility, of battles and wars. Peace often seems so elusive that we can never do enough to make peace and instead find ourselves even picking fights. But you chose to come into the world for us. You enlisted yourself into our war with sin and did battle by living perfectly for us in our place and then sacrificing your life in place of ours. Because you rose from the dead, we know that the war against sin is won, that your victory is our victory, that we have peace with you and stand undefeated with you. One day you will end all hostility. Until then, use our civil servants here in our Layton City Council, in our state and federal government as instruments of peace. Guide their discussions and give them your wisdom in all their decisions. May all of us go forward in our lives with our families, our neighbors, sharing the peace of what God has done for us. Grant all these things for the sake of Jesus Christ, the King of Kings, who lives and reigns over all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. That was very beautifully stated. Okay, Council. Gee, I'm looking here and no minutes to approve. But we do have municipal announcements. So with that, Council, if you want to go ahead and make your announcements.
So I have a number of announcements. I'll be very brief. First, March is Women's History Month. And I know Mayor Joy is probably going to get mad at me for this, but I just want to honor her for being the first woman mayor for the city of Layton. And I think that's an awesome accomplishment. So congratulations, Mayor.
Hey, it's
also on last Saturday, we want to offer congratulations to the Layton Christian Academy boys basketball for the team and Coach Bobby Porter because they took state for 3A championship. So we want to recognize them for that. And then the Davis Arts Council across the way here on tomorrow, they will have their small stage concert series for this month. It's a free concert series and the artist is violinist Gabriel Gordon. So feel free to check that out. OPA will be starting their theater production this month, The Diary of Anne Frank, and that will start on March 18th. But they have a a discount code this weekend. So if you go to their website, you can type in the code FRIEND and you'll get $2 off for any tickets that you purchase to see that show through its entirety. And they also are hosting a local artist in their art gallery. So you can go in and see art from one of our local artists. Her name is Amy Bingham, throughout this month and next month. And then there is one last announcement, which is for Layton Communities That Care. And on March 29th from 6:30 to 8:30, they're going to be hosting a town hall, which will help empower parents and family to prevent mental health and substance use for our youth. And that town hall will be at North Layton Junior High School. That's
Good.
it.
Very good. Thank you.
I have a handful of announcements from the Parks and Recreation Department. First of all, some family recreation opportunities. March 18th at Surf and Swim from 6:45 to 8:45, half off admission if you wear green. So get out the green swimsuits. April 11th, actually, let's see, let's do March first. March 18th, family night at the library. There'll be a lot of activities. Admission is free and 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And then April 8th, we have a Easter egg dive and game night. That's going to be at Surf and Swim, $2 per child under 14, accompanying adults. Children under 5 are free. Let's see, accompanying adults are free, sorry. So usually the children are free. In this case, $2 per child. 6:45 to 8:45 p.m., again at Surf and Swim. And then a civic opportunity for our community to be involved in the future of our city. The Layton City Active Transportation Open House is going to be held March 9th from 7 to 8 p.m. here at the Layton City Center, so here in this room. There will be an opportunity to voice opinions on how our active transportation system can be improved and the future of that. Also, if you get online to Layton, what is it? What's that?
ATP.
Layton ATP Alta Planning .cloud. You can fill out that survey online. So anyway, March 9th, 7 to 8 p.m.
Excellent. Very good. Mr. Bloxham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There are some opportunities for the residents to attend their local caucus meetings. I know the Republicans are, I think, this Tuesday, and I believe the Democrats are March 22nd. So you can get involved in your communities and try to make some change that you feel is best.
Very good. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. That was some good reporting and updates for our citizens to follow. And I want to acknowledge we've got former council member Don Fitzpatrick in the audience, so it's nice to see you. But we actually do have a presentation tonight, a proclamation that we'd like to read in light of what's going on in the world right now. And so with that, I've actually asked Council Member Clint Morris to go ahead and read this for me. So Clint, would you mind reading that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Actually, hold on. This was inspired by someone who lives here in our city. So if you wouldn't mind, Vadine, if you and your wife wouldn't mind, just if you could come up to the podium and just stand so we can acknowledge what this is about, or a portion of what this is about, right here by the mic.
You won't have to say anything.
You don't have to say anything. We just want to acknowledge this, and when we're done, I want to hand you something. So that's all.
Say something.
Do we say anything?
You don't have to say anything.
No, you don't have to say a word. I just thought it would be nice for folks to understand. So with that, Council Member Morris. Okay. Well, he's gonna actually read our proclamation for us.
Listen to you.
Whereas it is with heavy hearts we receive the news that on the heels of the international celebration of the Winter Olympics, in violation of Olympic truce and in violation of common decency and respect for humankind, Russia's government has invaded Ukraine. And whereas, while this war may seem a world away, its impacts are felt right here at home, as our military service members at Hill Air Force Base are now on alert, receiving new assignments and affecting them and their families. And whereas it is the desire of Layton City to express our deepest and heartfelt appreciation for the willingness of our military service members to protect our freedoms and those of our allies, for their patriotism and their love of freedom, and for their placing themselves in harm's way in defending those freedoms. And whereas Layton is now home to those whose families once called Ukraine or Russia their home, and whose family members still reside there. And whereas we express our support to those with family ties to this region and stand united with them in condemning the despot's aggression and praying for the safety of the innocent. And whereas based on the threats of this tyrant, including cyber attacks and other unconventional warfare, we call on citizens to maintain their vigilance regarding their cybersecurity and other personal preparedness. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Layton City declares our unwavering gratitude and support for our military service members, their family, and Hill Air Force Base, our commitment to stand united with the innocent, and our call to vigilance to our friends and citizens, witnessed whereof the mayors caused their seal of our city of Layton, Utah, to be affixed on this 3rd day of March 2022.
Thank you. And with that, what I'd like to do, I'll come down there and I want to present to you and allow you guys to own this proclamation on behalf of all of those from other countries. And we are proud to have you as residents of Layton City. Thank you. Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Very good. Okay, this is our city council meeting, and we do allow citizen comments. So if anyone's here to bring a concern or an accolade or would like to express your feelings for the council, you're welcome to do that at this time. We do ask that you keep your comments brief. And if so, come up to either podium and state your name and address for the record. Very good. We will now proceed with our regular agenda items, which we're down to item number 5, which is our consent items. And on our consent items, we can actually enact on all of these in a single motion. We have several of them tonight, and I'm going to start out with item A, which is going to be presented by Mr. Lon Crow. So, Lon, if you'd like to give us the explanation of the amended subdivision plot plan, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and the City Council members. We have before you tonight a application, a request to amend Lot 309R.
We have, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, keep going. Sorry, this mouse is probably off. At Lot 309R in Layton Mary's Meadows subdivision, First Amendment. Okay, that's good. When this lot was recorded, the engineering department required a note on the plat that required the developer to install some irrigation, and not only that, but follow UTA's easement requirements along the north side of that subdivision line. And that restriction also did not allow them to construct a home on this or get a building permit for this property until that had taken place. That has taken place. The developer has approval from the engineering department, and they are requesting that the City Council consider approving the amendment that would remove that R designation on this property and allow them to get a building permit. The Planning Commission on February 8th unanimously recommended that the City Council approve this request to amend the subdivision, and staff supports the Planning Commission's recommendation. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I might have one. Okay. I understand the irrigation portion of it, and yet at the same time, the purpose is to be able to develop that into a lot, which I fully support, right?
It's already an approved
Lot.
and subdivided and recorded lot. They just are not able to build on it until we have this designation removed from the plat.
Okay. So then any of the infrastructure regarding the irrigation has not taken place yet, correct? Meaning
No,
any
this-
type of alignment or any improvements that need to take place?
No,
Or-
this subdivision is developed.
Right.
We already have homes being built, so all the infrastructure's in.
Okay. I guess what I'm driving at is
There's irrigation, yes, there's irrigation along the backside of that property that
Did it have to be
it
buried?
needed to be installed. At the time this was recorded, it wasn't in yet. The developer was waiting on permits or UTA actually to work within their easement in order to install the line. And so the engineering department, really in efforts to work with them, suggested that this note be placed on the plat. You can see it was handwritten in order to allow them to record so they could record the subdivision and start developing it. And that's why we're in the position we are now.
Okay. Well, I don't have a problem at all with this. I'm just thinking going forward, that ground to the east most likely is going to be developed as well. And I'd hate to see whoever it is that would have to front the money to build any type of underground irrigation or make it safe. Why go to that trouble if the rest of the ground's going to come up here pretty quick? So I'm just going to make that comment for the record.
If I can comment, I've talked to the ditch master for a straight irrigation company, and he was really concerned, just even if it's 2 years down the road, if there's water in that lot and it's a developed lot, it's a real concern to have open water. So the infrastructure's in place. They put the pipe in place. I don't think it's been signed off by straight irrigation ditching company, but I think I believe it's done well. So yeah,
okay,
it's
that's
in
fine then.
place.
And their signature would be required on the amended plat. They would have to sign on the plat, so they'll have the opportunity to do that.
Okay. Good. Any other concerns? Great. Thank you, Lon. We appreciate that. Okay, we have several items here coming up, and actually we have one presenter for all items. So, Mr. Terry Colburn, I'm going to turn the time over to you, and we'll just have you go through them one by one, starting out with the bid award for Yarborough construction on the storm drain. The first storm drain. How's that?
Thank you, Mayor. Bring before the council resolution 2211. It's a bid award to Yarborough Construction Incorporated for the Constitution Storm Drain Project, intersection of Constitution Circle and Wasatch Drive. Resolution 2211 authorizes the execution of an agreement between Layton City and Yarborough Construction Incorporated for the Constitution Storm Drain Project. The project includes construction of a new storm drain line down Constitution Drive with storm drain box installations, removal of waterways, new ADA ramps, new drive approach, and all other incidental work associated with the storm drain installation. 2 bids were received, with Yarborough Construction Incorporated submitting the lowest responsible bid in the amount of $347,000.87. The engineer's estimate was $265,000. Staff would recommend the council adopt resolution 2211.
Do you have any questions, council, on this one?
Terry, on that, were there 2 bids or 3 on this particular one?
I think there were only 2, weren't there, Steve? can't remember. And the other one,
There was 3 on the other one, I know for
Yeah.
sure.
Was it 3 on the other one? So my only question is regarding the engineer estimates. And obviously, they're
price.
very low compared to what the bids are that are accepted. And do we have a reasonable expectation for that? Or not expectation, but a reasonable understanding for that?
Yes.
Aside from,
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
As you all know, everything these days is more expensive for a lot of different reasons. Let me just give you a simple example. We pay $25 a gallon for red paint when we paint red curb. We're paying $55 a gallon for it now. Same thing applies with whether it's pipe, metal pipe, concrete pipe, all that stuff, all the costs are up. Our recommendation for us to accept it is we don't think that we'll get a better price than $347. We think it's still a world where the prices are going to go up, so we'd rather get it done now at that price before it increases.
As well as the commitment, right, that they can perform, because I know that that's an issue out there as well as far as your labor.
Right.
so it's just a matter of the timing and when the estimates were performed.
Yeah, the engineer's estimates, when we do an engineer estimate, it was probably taken off a project similar maybe 6 months to a year ago, you know, and we can't prognosticate what the prices are going to be. So sometimes that's why the engineer's estimate's a little bit lower than reality when it's time to bid the project.
Thank you.
Have I thoroughly confused you? Thank
Okay.
you.
So we good on that topic? Because I'll go ahead and let him go on to item number B, since, like I said, he'll be up here for the duration of the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. Bring before the council Resolution 2212, a bid award to Yarborough Construction Incorporated for miscellaneous storm drain repairs, various locations throughout the city. You might want to know, well, how do we know that? That's because we have television cameras and trucks that go out and video all the sanitary sewer, storm sewer. So in this particular case, we've found instances throughout the city where a storm drain might have a belly in it, the pipe might be broke, there might be a lateral coming into it that's fallen. So that's why it's various locations throughout the city as marked on the map. Resolution 2212 authorizes the execution of an agreement between Layton City and Yarborough Construction Incorporated for the miscellaneous storm drain repairs. The project includes construction in 5 separate locations of the city. The project includes construction of new 12-inch to 15-inch RCP storm drain pipe with box installations, removal of waterways where needed, new ADA ramps, and all other incidental work associated with storm drain installation. 2 bids were received, with Yarborough Construction submitting the lowest responsible bid in the amount of $437,411.51. The estimate was $295,000. Staff would recommend council adopt Resolution 2212.
Okay. Any questions on this one? Thank you very much. We'll go on to item D.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2019 is a bid award to Triple J Concrete LLC for the Antelope Drive Raised Median project. Long Antelope Drive, starting at approximately 700 west for approximately 275 feet to the east. Resolution 2219 authorizes the execution of an agreement between Layton City and Triple J Concrete LLC for the Antelope Drive Raised Median project. The project will consist of the installation of 275 feet of type B5 concrete curbing and ADA ramp with associated work items. 2 bids were received, with Triple J Concrete LLC submitting the lowest responsible bid in the amount of $70,625. The engineer's estimate was $70,000. Staff would recommend the council adopt Resolution 2219.
That's a lot closer. Any questions? Good job on that one.
Let me just say, and then I hope that doesn't stir any questions, but this is out by Chick-fil-A, and it's got to be right in, right out only, because people have been trying to come out and turn left into the median, and then they get in trouble trying to head westbound. A ton of accidents. You might ask, what about Chick-fil-A? What do they think about it? Well, Steve can tell you they came into the engineering office to work out some problems because they agree with what needs to happen here too. So,
good. That's
just so you know.
That's great. I'm glad you guys have done that.
Hey, Terry, just for the record, I did relook at item 5B and there were 3 estimates.
Okay.
That's all.
But it wasn't the low one, was it?
No, sir.
But it's the right work to be done by the right party. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Item E, interlocal agreement.
Okay, bear with me. On these next 3, they're interlocal agreements with the county, and I'm going to read the preamble in each one of them because we're being streamed, and if somebody were to walk in at a different time, they might not understand if I say I'll read the one, but then skip it and take care of the other 2, okay? But I'll be quick.
Okay.
Resolution 2213. It's an interlocal cooperation agreement between Layton City and Davis County for transportation project reimbursement along 2700 West from approximately Layton Parkway to West Hillfield Road, as you can see by the map. Resolution 2213 authorizes the execution of an interlocal cooperation agreement between Layton City and Davis County for transportation project reimbursement. The county requested the cities, the Utah Department of Transportation, and the Utah Transit Authority located within Davis County to submit applications for transportation projects to be reviewed for eligibility for possible funding by the county 2021 sale and use tax for transportation. The city submitted a Davis County third quarter funding application to the county for the Layton 2700 West Road project. The Davis County Council of Governments reviewed the application and placed the project on the 2021 priority list. The COG then submitted a priority list of transportation projects for review and possible approval to the county. The county approved funding for the project in the amount of $3 million. The county has agreed to partially reimburse the city for the permitted or authorized costs, expenses, and otherwise incurred by the city in connection with the project and in a manner consistent with the terms and provisions of the agreement. The city has commenced construction, as you know, on the project and has agreed to complete the project within 2 years from the date of agreement is executed by the city and county. Staff would recommend the county adopt Resolution 2213.
Okay. Questions?
Sorry to bore you, but I'm going to read the preamble again on Resolution 2214. An interlocal cooperation agreement between Layton City and Davis County for transportation project reimbursement, approximately Main Street and 165 South Main Street. That's where the front runner parking comes out and you hit those kind of that median in the middle of the road. Resolution 2214 authorizes the execution of an interlocal cooperation agreement between Layton City and Davis County for transportation project reimbursement. The county requested the cities, the Utah Department of Transportation, and the Utah Transit Authority located within Davis County to submit applications for transportation projects to be reviewed for eligibility for possible funding by the county's 2021 sales tax and use tax for transportation. The city submitted a Davis County third quarter funding application to the county for Layton City Front Runner Traffic Signal Project. The Davis County Council of Governments reviewed the application and placed the project on the 2021 priority list. The COG then submitted a priority list of transportation projects for review and possible approval by the county. The county approved funding for the project in an amount of $304,000. The county has agreed to partially reimburse the city for the permitted or authorized costs, expenses, or otherwise incurred by the city in connection with the project, and in a manner consistent with the terms and provision of the agreement. The city has commenced construction on the project and has agreed to complete the project within 2 years from the date the agreement is executed by the city and the county. That would be starting the engineering on it. You haven't actually seen any actual physical work being done, but it will be. You have to engineer it first. Staff recommends the council adopt Resolution 2214.
Questions? Yeah. Okay, we get to proceed to the last item here.
Sorry, it's Groundhog Day. Bring before the council, thank you, Mayor, to Resolution 2215. An interlocal cooperation agreement between Layton City and Davis County for transportation project reimbursement, intersection of approximately Gordon Avenue and Emerald Drive. Resolution 2215 authorizes the execution of an interlocal cooperation agreement between Layton City and Davis County for transportation project reimbursement. The county requested the cities, the Utah Department of Transportation and Utah Transit Authority located within Davis County to submit applications for transportation projects to be reviewed for eligibility for possible funding by the county's 2021 sales and use tax for transportation. The city submitted a Davis County third quarter funding application to the county for Layton, Gordon, Emerald traffic signal. The Davis County Council of Governments, COG, reviewed the application and placed the project on the 2021 priority list. The COG then submitted a priority list of transportation projects for review and possible approval to the county. The county approved funding for the project in the amount of $136,000. The county has agreed to partially reimburse the city for the permitted or authorized costs, expenses, or otherwise incurred by the city in connection with the project in a manner consistent with the terms and provisions of the agreement. The city has commenced construction on the project and has agreed to complete the project within 2 years from the date the agreement is executed by the city and county. I believe, Steve, that signal's in, is it not? Is it still in engineering? Staff recommends the council adopt Resolution 2215.
Any questions? Okay, I'm going to make a comment here. I want to say thank you to the staff and for everyone involved in seeking additional funding for our city. When you look at this, I mean, you're almost looking at what, $3.5 million here. That's is
and
helps.
Don't forget the county's already given us $3
million.
Excuse me,
yeah.
dollars for 2700 West already. So that's $6 million.
Right.
And that's a credit to Steve and his engineering staff for the most part.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a shout out for all of the staff here because I do know it takes everyone. It isn't just one individual, but it's everybody working together. And I just want to say thank you for doing that. And I'm going to continue to challenge everyone to look for additional funding wherever we can. It just helps us all in the long run. So thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Madam Mayor,
Sure.
may I just also gratitude for you and your work with the COG in helping the prioritization of these. So thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Just know, though, that means we got to play the favor to our neighbors as well. I mean, we were very fortunate to gain this funding this time, but, you know, as part of the county, you know, we got to share that around the entire county. But yes, so yeah, thanks to the county for adopting those and allowing us to kind of get these projects started in our city. So, okay, council, with that, all of our consent items have been presented. And I need a motion to accept all these items. I will say at least state what the resolution number is for the record so that Tori can keep this straight. But we can act on this in one motion or one vote. So who's gonna take the challenge?
Dawn could do it.
Yeah, this was her forte.
Madam Mayor,
accept that challenge.
Yeah, I'll do
Awesome.
it. I'll do it. Then I don't have to do it again for a while. Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the consent items this evening. Item A, amended subdivision plat, Layton Mary's Meadow Phase 3, First Amendment. Item B, which is a bid award for Yarborough Construction, Constitution Storm Drain Project 2114, Resolution 22-11, the intersection of Constitution Circle and Wasatch Drive. Item C, a bid award with Yarborough Construction, miscellaneous storm drain repairs, Project 20-10, Resolution 22-12, various locations throughout the city. Item D, bid award with Triple J Concrete, Antelope Drive Raised Median, Project 21-72, Resolution 22-19, along Antelope, starting at approximately 700 west for approximately 275 feet to the east. Item E, interlocal cooperation agreement between Layton City and Davis County for transportation project reimbursement, Resolution 22-13, along 2700 west for approximately Layton Parkway to West Hillfield Road. Item F, interlocal cooperation agreement between Layton City and Davis County for transportation project reimbursement, Resolution 22-14, approximately 165 South Main Street. And item G, interlocal cooperation agreement between Layton City and Davis County for transportation project reimbursement, Resolution 22-15, intersection at approximately Gordon Avenue and Emerald Drive.
Sweet. Second?
I second.
Very good. It's been moved and second that we accept all the consent items as presented. So with that, council, I will call for a vote. And honestly, we can do this as just a yay or nay. So with that, I'll say all in favor, please say aye or yay, however you want to say it.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. We appreciate that. So that actually brings our meeting to a conclusion, unless there's some unfinished business. It
Just
looks
a
like,
little.
Okay.
I'd like to make a, not a motion, but just a recommendation that in the future that we have Clint take care of anything that's over 6 paragraphs. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't cut yourself short. You did it last time. You took it on.
Are you kidding? We're saving her for the good stuff.
Okay, well, I do appreciate that. And I do want to give a shout out to the, once again, to the staff. I know that, it helps to have the slides in the presentation. I know the folks that are live streaming will understand what we're doing. So again, thank you for preparing that. And also to, I think all of the staff members for getting their information in so that this council can have an extra 24 hours to review this. I think that that has been well received. And so make sure, that gets passed on to everyone and tell them, thank you very much. We do appreciate it. So, okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Let's adjourn. I make a motion.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight.